The name of the high priest was Eliashib. He and his brothers, the priest, went to work and built the sheep gate. They prayed to make that gate holy to God. They set its doors in place in the wall. The priest worked on the wall of Jerusalem as far as the Tower of the 100 and the Tower of Hananel. They prayed to make all this work holy to God. The men from Jericho built the wall next to the priest. And Zaccur, son of a man named Imri, built the wall next to the men of Jericho. The sons of a man named Hassanah built the fish gate. They set the beams in place. They put doors on the building. Then they put the locks and bolts on the doors. Meremoth, son of Uriah, repaired the next section of the wall. Uriah was the son of Hakaz. Meshullam, son of Berechiah, repaired the next section of the wall. Berechiah was the son of Meshezabel. Zadok, son of Bana, repaired the next section of the wall. The men from Tekoa repaired the next section of the wall. But the leaders from Tekoa refused to work for Nehemiah, their governor. Joiada and Meshullam fixed the old gate. Joiada is the son of Paseah, and Meshullam is the son of Besadiah. They set the beams in place. They put the doors on the hinges. Then they put the locks and bolts on the doors. The men from Gibeah and Mizpah fixed the next section of the wall. Melatiah from Gibeon and Jadon from Meronoth did the work. Gibeon and Meronoth are places that are controlled by the governors of the area west of the Euphrates River. Uzziel, son of Harhiah, repaired the next section of the wall. Uzziel was a goldsmith. Hananiah was one of the perfume makers. These men built and repaired Jerusalem as far as the broad wall. Rephaiah, son of Hur, repaired the next section of the wall. Rephaiah was the governor of half of Jerusalem. Jediah, son of Haramath, repaired the next section of the wall. Jediah repaired the wall next to his own house. Haddish, son of Hashabniah, repaired the next section. Malchijah, son of Haram, and Hashab, son of Paeth Moab, repaired the next section. They also repaired Oven Tower. Shallum, son of Halahesh, repaired the next section of the wall. His daughters helped him. Shallum was the governor of the other half of Jerusalem. The valley gate was repaired by Hanan and the people who live in the town of Zanoah. They built the valley gate. They put the doors on their hinges. Then they put the locks and bolts on the doors. They also repaired 500 yards of the wall. They worked on the wall all the way to the gate of Ashpiles. Malchijah, son of Rechab, repaired the gate of Ashpiles. Malchijah was the governor of the district of Beth-Haccherem. He repaired the gate. He put the doors on the hinges. Then he put the locks and bolts on the doors. Shallun, son of Koholza, repaired the fountain gate. Shallun was the governor of the district of Mizpah. He repaired the gate and put a roof over it. He put the doors on the hinges. Then he put the locks and bolts on the doors. He also repaired the wall of the pool of Siloam that is next to the king's garden. He repaired the wall all the way to the steps that go down from the city of David. Nehemiah, son of Azbuk, repaired the next section. This Nehemiah was the governor of half the district of Beth-zur. He made repairs up to the place that is across from the tombs of David, and he worked as far as the man-made pool in the house of heroes. The men from the tribe of Levi repaired the next section. They worked under Rehum, son of Bani. Hashabiah repaired the next section. Hashabiah was governor of half the district of Keilah. He made repairs for his own district. Their brothers repaired the next section. They worked under Binnui, son of Henadad. Binnui was the governor of the other half of the district of Keilah. Ezer, son of Jeshua, repaired the next section. Ezer was governor of Mizpah. He repaired the section of wall from the room for weapons to the corner of the wall. Barak, son of Zabai, repaired the next section. Barak worked very hard and repaired the section of wall from the corner to the entrance to the house of Eliashib the high priest. Meremoth, son of Uriah, the son of Hakaz, repaired the next section of the wall from the entrance to Eliashib's house to the end of that house. The next section of walls was repaired by the priests who have lived in that area. Benjamin and Hashab repaired the wall in front of their own house, and Azariah, son of Maaseiah, the son of Ananiah, repaired the wall next to his house. Binnui, son of Henadad, repaired the section of wall from Azariah's house to the bend in the wall and then to the corner. Palal, son of Uzai, worked across from the bend in the wall near the tower. This is the tower at the king's upper house. That is near the courtyard of the king's guard. Pedaiah, son of Perish, worked next to Palal. The temple servants lived in Ophel Hill. They repaired the next section all the way to the east side of the water gate and the tower near it. The men from Tekoa repaired the rest of that section from the big tower all the way to Ophel Wall. The priest repaired the section over the horse gate. Each priest repaired the wall in front of his own house. Zadok, son of Immer, repaired the section in front of his house. Shemaiah, son of Shechaniah, repaired the next section. Shemaiah was the guard of the east gate. Hananiah, son of Shelemiah, and Hanan, son of Zalaph, repaired the rest of that section of wall. Hanan was Zalaph's sixth son. Meshullam, son of Berechiah, repaired the section in front of his house. Malchijah repaired the next section of wall all the way to the house of the temple servants and the merchants. That is across from the inspection gate. Malchijah repaired the section all the way to the room over the corner of the wall. Malchijah was a goldsmith. The goldsmiths and the merchants repaired the section of wall from that corner to the sheep gate. When Sanballat heard we were building the wall of Jerusalem, he was very angry and upset. He started making fun of the Jews. Sanballat talked with his friends and the army at Samaria and said, "What are these weak Jews doing? Do they think we will leave them alone? Do they think they will offer sacrifices? Maybe they think they could finish building in only one day. They cannot bring stones back to life from these piles of trash and dirt. These are just piles of ashes and dirt." Tobiah the Ammonite was with Sanballat. Tobiah said, "What do these Jews think they are building? If even a small fox climbed up on it, he would break down their wall of stones." Nehemiah prayed and said, "Our God, listen to our prayer. These men hate us. Sanballat and Tobiah are insulting us. Make bad things happen to them. Make them ashamed, like people taken away as prisoners. Don't take away their guilt or forgive their sins they have done in your sight. They have insulted and discouraged the builders." We built the wall of Jerusalem all the way around the city, but it was only half as tall as it should be. We did this much because the people worked with all their heart. But Sanballat, Tobiah, the Arabs, the Ammonites, and the men from Ashdod were very angry. They heard that the people continued working on the walls of Jerusalem. They heard the people were repairing the holes in the wall. So all these men got together and made plans against Jerusalem. They planned to stir up trouble against Jerusalem. They planned to come and fight against the city. But we prayed to our God, and we put guards on the walls to watch day and night, so that we could be ready to meet them. And so at that time, the people of Judah said, "The workers are becoming tired. There is too much dirt and trash in the way. We cannot continue to build the wall." And our enemies are saying, before the Jews know it or see us, we will be right there among them. We will kill them, and that will stop the work. Then the Jews living among our enemies came and said this to us 10 times. "Our enemies are all around us. They're everywhere we turn." So I put some of the people behind the lowest places along the wall, and I put them by the holes in the wall. I put families together with their swords, spears, and bows. After looking over everything, I stood up and spoke to the important families, the officials, and the rest of the people. I said, "Don't be afraid of our enemies. Remember the Lord, who is great and powerful. You must fight for your brothers, your sons, and your daughters. You must fight for your wives and your homes." Then our enemies heard that we knew about their plans. They knew that God ruined the plans. So we all went back to work on the wall. Everyone went back to their own place and did their part. From that day on, half of my men worked on the wall. The other half of my men were on guard, ready with spears, shields, bows, and armor. The army officers stood behind the people of Judah who were building the wall. The builders and their helpers had their tools in one hand and a weapon in the other hand. Each of the builders wore his sword at his side as he worked. The man who blew the trumpet to warn the people stayed next to me. Then I spoke to the leading families, the officials, and the rest of the people. I said, "This is a very big job, and we are spread out along the wall. We are far from one another. So if you hear the trumpet, run to that place. We will all meet together there, and our God will fight for us." So we continued to work on the wall of Jerusalem, and half of the men held spears. We worked from the first light of the morning until the stars came out at night. At that time, I also said this to the people: every builder and his helper must stay inside Jerusalem at night. Then they can be guards at night and workers during the day. So none of us took off our clothes. Not me, not my brothers, not my men, and not the guards. Each of us had our weapon ready at all times, even when we went to get water. Many of the poor people began to complain against their fellow Jews. Some of them were saying, "We have many children. We must get some grain if we are going to eat and stay alive." Other people were saying, "This is a time of famine. We have to use our fields, vineyards, and homes to pay for grain." And still other people were saying, "We have to pay the king's tax on our fields and vineyards, but we cannot afford to pay, so we are borrowing money to pay the tax. We are as good as the others. Our sons are as good as their sons, but we will have to sell our sons and daughters as slaves. Some of us have already had to sell our daughters as slaves. There is nothing we can do. We have already lost our fields and vineyards. Other people own them now." When I heard their complaints, I was very angry. I calmed myself down, and then I went to the rich families and officials. I told them, "You are forcing your own people to pay interest on the money you loan them. You must stop doing that." Then I called for all the people to meet together, and I said to them, "Our fellow Jews were sold as slaves to people in other countries. We did our best to buy them back and make them free. And now you are selling them like slaves again." The rich people and officials kept quiet. They could not find anything to say. So I continued speaking. I said, "What you people are doing is not right. You know that you should fear and respect our God. You should not do the shameful things other people do. My men, my brothers, and I are also lending money and grain to the people, but let's stop forcing them to pay interest on these loans. You must give their fields, vineyards, olive fields, and houses back to them right now. And you must give back the interest you charge them. You charge them 1% for the money, grain, new wine, and oil that you loan them." Then the rich people and the officials said, "We will give it back and not demand anything more from them. Nehemiah, we will do as you say." Then I called the priest. I made the rich people and the officials promise to God that they would do what they said. Then I shook out the folds of my clothes. I said, "God will do the same thing to everyone who does not keep their promise. God will shake them out of their houses, and they will lose everything they worked for. They will lose everything." I finished saying these things, and all the people agreed. They all said, "Amen," and praised the Lord. So the people did as they promised. Then Sanballat, Tobiah, Geshem the Arab, and our other enemies heard that I built the wall. We repaired all the holes in the wall, but we had not yet put the doors in the gates. So Sanballat and Geshem sent me this message: "Come, Nehemiah, let's meet together. We can meet in the town of Kepharim on the plain of Ono." But they were planning to hurt me. So I sent messengers to them with this answer: "I am doing important work, so I cannot come down. I don't want the work to stop just so I can come down and meet with you." Sanballat and Geshem sent the same message to me 4 times, and I sent the same answer back to them each time. Then, the 5th time, Sanballat sent his helper to me with the same message, and he had a letter in his hand that was not sealed. This is what the letter said: "There is a rumor going around. People are talking about it everywhere. And, by the way, Geshem says it is true. People are saying that you and the Jews are planning to turn against the king. This is why you are building the wall of Jerusalem. People are also saying that you will be the new king of the Jews. And the rumor is that you have chosen prophets to announce this about you in Jerusalem. There is a new king in Judah. Now I warn you, Nehemiah, King Artaxerxes will hear about this. So come, let's meet and talk about this together." So I sent this answer back to Sanballat. "Nothing you were saying is happening. You were just making all that up in your own head. Our enemies were only trying to make us afraid. They are thinking to themselves, 'The Jews will be afraid and too weak to keep on working. Then the wall will not be finished.' But I prayed, 'God, make me strong.' One day, I went to the house of a man named Shemaiah, son of Delaiah. Delaiah was the son of Mahatabel. Shemaiah had to stay in his house. He said, 'Nehemiah, let's meet in God's temple. Let's go inside the holy place and lock the doors. Men are coming to kill you. Tonight they are coming to kill you.' But I said to Shemaiah, 'Should a man like me run away? You know that an ordinary man like me cannot go into the holy place without being put to death. I will not go.' I knew that God had not sent Shemaiah. I knew that he had prophesied against me because Tobiah and Sanballat had paid him to do that. They hired Shemaiah to scare me and make me sin by going into that part of the temple. They were planning those bad things against me so that they could shame me. My God, please remember Tobiah and Sanballat and the bad things they have done. Also remember the woman prophet Noadiah and the other prophets who have been trying to scare me." So the wall of Jerusalem was completed on the 25th day of the month of Elul. It had taken 52 days to finish building the wall. Then all our enemies heard that we had completed the wall, and all the nations around us saw that it was finished. So they lost their courage, because they understood that this work had been done with the help of our God. Also, in those days after the wall had been completed, the rich people of Judah were sending many letters to Tobiah, and he was answering their letters. They sent those letters because many people in Judah had promised to be loyal to him. The reason for this is that Tobiah was son-in-law to Shechaniah, son of Ara, and Tobiah's son, Jehohanan, had married the daughter of Meshullam. Meshullam is the son of Berechiah. And in the past, those people had made a special promise to Tobiah, so they kept telling me how good Tobiah was. And they kept telling Tobiah what I was doing. Tobiah kept sending me letters to make me afraid. After we finished building the wall and put the doors and the gates, we chose the men who would guard the gates and the men to sing in the temple and help the priest. Next, I put my brother Hanani in charge of Jerusalem. I chose another man named Hananiah to be the commander of the fort. I picked Hanani because he was a very honest man and he feared God more than most people do. Then I said to Hanani and Hananiah, "Each day you must wait until the sun has been up for several hours before you open the gates of Jerusalem. You must shut and lock the gates before the sun goes down. Also, choose people who live in Jerusalem as guards. Put some of them at special places to guard the city, and put the other people near their own houses.